Hello again and welcome. It's been around 3 months since I last did a video, and I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in, and I hope you're looking forward to watching. My eyes have been done now. I had an operation on both eyes. I've now got good long distance sight and just need to wear reading glasses. The only problem is I can now see how bad my turning is. Never mind, we'll carry on regardless. What I'm going to be doing today is finishing off this wet white walnut natural edge bowl, which I wet turned about 5 months ago. It comes in at 14 inches in length, 11 inches wide, 8 inches deep. It has a large, or had a large crack on one wing here, which I filled with black milliput. That seems to have gone off quite nicely. I've taken a couple of passes just to see that the milliput is stable, and it is. So I'm looking forward to getting this finished, and we can carry on with the next project. So without further ado, let's get finished turning this white walnut natural edge bowl. So I've got the bowl between centres. I've got my chuck stem centre in the chuck and revolving stem centre here. The centre point was left after the wet turning, and also in the inside as well, made a mark there so I could true it up as best as possible. So my first job is to true up the tenon, and that'll be going into my large 4-inch dovetail jaws, and then once I've established the tenon, we'll work on the outside, and I intend to reverse mount it when I've finished to turn the foot off. Okay, I'll be using a 1/2-inch bowl gouge for the majority of this work, and I'll be using my 1/2-inch spindle gouge just to true up the tenon, and don't forget to put the dovetail on. Okay, let's get going. Turning at about 700 RPM at the moment, keeping the tool, it needs to go up a little bit. If you're not happy with the tool rest, always stop and readjust. So I'll be keeping the bevel pointing at 90 degrees to begin with, to true it up, and then I'll put a tenon on, and we'll just clean up this piece here and then start to shape properly, doing about 700 revs, 720 revs. So what I've got here, I've got the 1/2-inch bowl gouge, the Simon Hope double-ended bowl gouge, and I'm dropping the handle, and I'm just going to be cutting, slicing the fibres with the just to the left of the nose. So I've got to a stage where I'm quite happy with the shape of the outside. There's a bit of refining to be done, a few little lumps and bumps, and what I'm going to be using to smooth that curvature is the Simon Hope heavy duty scraper, and this tool is very easy to sharpen. All you have to do is to hone it on the bottom edge to raise the burr, and it's a nice stable tool, and it's great for refining the outside of bowls. So you have the tool rest at a height where you're actually cutting on centre when the tool is horizontal, and just very lightly, and keep the tool on the same plane, and you'll find that you'll get a lovely surface. So that's the refining finished on the outside now, and the CA and coffee ground, I'm pretty sure, will blend quite nicely in there with the mini put. Not the prettiest piece of wood I've ever turned, but nevertheless a good exercise after my enforced absence from turning. What I shall do now is sand up to 240, sanding sealer, Yorkshire grit and Hampshire sheen, and then we can spin it around in the chuck and sort out the inside. So that's the outside finish now. Not the prettiest piece of wood, as I have said before. It certainly isn't going to win any elegant beauty competitions, but nevertheless I have up to now enjoyed turning it, and it's always a good exercise anyhow. Right, so I'll spin him around, put him in the chuck now, and we'll true up the inside, finish it, and then the job will be done. Just a point to note for the newer turner, while I'm turning here, obviously I've got to keep my hands out of the way of the spinning wings, and this proves the point. You don't need to have your hand right up here like so. All you're doing with this hand is applying downward pressure through the tool into the tool rest. All the cutting and the movement comes from your body and the movement, and this is all your left hand is doing. It's not forcing it, it's not doing anything, it's purely giving it stability. So that's the turning finish now. I'm just going to be using the Simon Hope heavy duty negative rake scraper on the inside like I did on the outside, the other shape one. This round one is ideal for the inside of bowls, nice and heavy and sturdy, and it has a negative rake. I have done a video on how to sharpen these. All you need to do is basically, until you need to reshape it again, is just use a diamond card just to raise the burr like you would on any other scraper, and they're very effective solid pieces of kit. So I shall do that, then I shall sand up to 240, then the usual sanding sealer, Yorkshire grit, Hampshire sheen, and I'll most probably apply oil on the, I'll paint some oil onto the bark just to keep it nice and supple. Just a point I think worth mentioning, especially for the newer turner, or the turner with less experience, as some of my friends like to call it. When I'm doing something like this, I always use a pad. Now with Yorkshire grit, I can actually, if you can see here, there is the solid. Be careful obviously of your hands. There's the solid in the middle, so you can actually do everything that you would normally do on an ordinary bowl up to there. As soon as you hear it flapping, go back towards the middle, okay? Make sure there's nothing on the cloth so that Yorkshire grit has done its job, and then vigorously elbow grease on the wings, and you will come, as you can see there, nothing on the cloth, and it just takes a bit of extra effort, that's all, but it's very safe. Just make sure you can see the area where it's solid, so you can do the work as normal there. And there you go, the inside is finished. Now we'll spin them around and saw the foot out. I'll be using a friction drive for that, and we'll have the job done, and I might leave the bark natural actually, I'm not sure, but I can always add oil if I wish to, just paint some oil on if I want to afterwards. Now normally my friction drive would screw straight onto the spindle, but because of the depth of the bowl and the wings, it was catching on here. So what I've done, I've got my medium gripper jaws, I've put the unit into there. I know the jaws are far too wide for a firm grip to turn properly, but this is only a friction drive, there's not going to be a lot of pressure on it, so I can use that. There's plenty of leeway between the edge of the wing and the lathe, and find the center spot and just advance against the friction drive, lock everything down, and just see that's running nice and smoothly. So say lock everything down, and then we can carry on turning away the foot. So using my 1/2 inch spindle gauge, RPM around 850, and light cuts just to remove the foot. Have to be a bit careful here because we've got a knot there, so its integrity could be compromised, so I'm not going to go much lower now. Normally I would go to a very sharp point and then just take it off and knock the nub off, but I'll have to do a little bit of chiseling maybe, but not a problem. But I don't want to go too far down because it could just fly off. So just one more cut, famous last words. No, I'm not going to do any more because that could come apart. So I'll just take it off the lathe now. I won't show you that. I'll chisel that off, sand it up, and we'll come back when it's completed. Well, here it is, finished, and the bottom finished as well and signed. It's not the prettiest wood, as I say, but nevertheless it was a good exercise and I did enjoy doing it, and I hope you enjoyed coming along the journey with me. First major turn anyway for 3 to 4 months, and it ends up at 12 inches across the length, 10 inches wide and 7 inches tall. And yeah, at the end of the day I'm quite happy with it. I think I'll leave the bark natural, but if I want to put some oil on there at a later date, I can do that. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers now.